Financial independence has gained some media coverage in the past decade or so, and not always in a positive light. Today, I want to go over what it is, where the idea came from, and what it's not. I also want to talk about some of the different schools of thought within the FI community. Finally, I want to talk about financial freedom and getting rich young. Is that even a real thing? Hi, my name's Will. I started this YouTube channel and a blog at simplesuccessfi.com to share my journey and have others to share their journey with me. If you want to be a part of it, be sure that you subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you always know when I upload, and leave me a comment to let me know where you are on the financial journey. With that, let's get right into the video. So what is financial independence? As long as the FI community has been around, there's been a few different ideas of what that really means. But at its core, it still means being able to cover all of your basic living expenses off of passive income. Passive income is usually going to mean investments that are cash flowing still today. But even with that, there are so many different, avenues of approach and thought processes surrounding it that first I want to go over a couple of the common core values that all of us share. So at its core, financial independence is financial freedom. It is having the power to choose. I really like how Scott Trench, author of Set for Life, put it. He said that whenever you're financially independent, you are starting from a position of strength. You have the power to choose. So whether or not you're dead set on early retirement, or you just want the freedom to choose a job that you prefer regardless of the pay, that freedom of choice is what we're all really after. Another great way I've seen it put here recently is by Ben Lee Fort, a friend and fellow writer of mine that wrote an article about the FIRE movement. Now, FIRE, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, is financially independent, retire early. So the FIRE movement has been gaining media coverage on, getting rich young, retiring early, and sitting on a beach. He makes the case that it's less about early retirement and more about entrepreneurship. I really like that, and I think that is a more common way that we perceive it in the FI community. So where did the idea of financial independence come from, and where did the current movement kind of start? Now, the idea of your money making enough money for you to live off of is by no means new. In fact, one of my favorite all-time books I recommend to everybody, The Richest Man in Babylon, is about exactly that. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, is about exactly that. That is one of the most popular books in FI you'll ever see. But the idea has been around a long time. The movement, however, is fairly recent. What is even more recent is people reaching that in large numbers at a increasingly more frequent rate. On top of that, the amount of people that the audience is growing. And the quick expansion that we're seeing, I think has some other things to do with it, but I'll get to that. So most people credit the current movement with starting in the early 90s when Vicki Robbins published Your Money or Your Life. A little bit after that, there was a man named Jacob Fisker who published Early Retirement Extreme, and the really extreme FIRE folks, that's probably where some of that movement started. There's also a book called 4-Hour Work Week that is a huge inspiration for many people by Tim Ferriss. That's probably where a lot of the many retirement folks, a mindset I'll get to, pull a lot of their inspiration from. So while I think these books are a good starting point, like I said, the exponential growth of the audience points to something else. And I think that's the internet. I think the popularity of social media, blogs, this right here is, a really good example of why we're growing so quickly and why the audience is growing quicker than it ever has before. In fact, I would wager that a lot of people's first taste of FI is coming from the internet. And in fact, I want to make that the question of the day. So comment down below with where you first heard of FI. Was it the internet, or did you get one of these books? Let me know. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe and leave me a like. So you take a movement that's already growing, you add the internet, and then just to put some more gas on the fire, you throw in a financial crisis that happened during a lot of our young adult or teenage lives that really showed us that nothing is ever stable. We want to be independent. We don't want to ever have the fear and the depression that everybody had at that time. I think that really spurred a lot of people in our age group right now, our being millennials, to look for something better, look for another way to go about our financial journey. And I think that's why FI really has gained a lot of ground and therefore media coverage. Unfortunately, all the media coverage isn't always a good thing, and this has actually become a hot topic here recently, so this brings me to what FI is not. So recently, a lady named Suze Orman went on CNBC and went on this whole rant about how coffee is making millennials poor. Now this got a lot of media coverage, and unfortunately that sensationalist stuff, it just sells. The video that I posted Monday, I just recorded like 30 minutes ago. I have to record them on the same night. And I just had to talk about why sensationalism can really have a big effect that we all want to just ignore. Well, it always has sold and always will. And so FI's kind of fallen under that. And getting rich and sipping cocktails on a beach in your 20s or 30s unfortunately has begun to take the idea of real financial independence. Being lazy and becoming a sloth is not what FI is about, nor has it ever been. Don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for that, and if you earn that, you should definitely take advantage of it every once in a while. FI, though, is really about the freedom to choose to work on something you're passionate about. And it was never about getting rich. First of all, that is a relative term. Second, a lot of people who are viewed as affluent in society right now actually have lower net worths than those who are concerned about their financial independence. And what is funny to me is that, people who are interested in the FI community or just not credit hogs in general are viewed as cheap or miserly. It's almost comical that frugality is now become a synonym to cheap, almost. The definition of frugality isn't cheap, it's economical. The difference is in your life enjoyment and what you value. FIers simply just want to align their spending with what they value most in life. Along the way, we like little hacks and tactics that really allow us to take advantage of all the benefits available to us and maximize those benefits along the way. So now that I've got the rant out of my system, let's get into the schools of thought finally. I'm going to start with the FIRE movement. Remember, FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. So yeah, the FIRE folks, they're a little bit more extreme, but really the core values are still there. What they aim to do is really cut their expenses to the bare minimum and then maximize their income as much as they can and invest all of that. Their goal is to reach a specific number that they need to live off of as early as possible. That number is usually something that, they can live off of to do whatever they want to do, and that they could do that for an extended period of time to go work on their passion projects. They pick that number, cut all their expenses, invest, and aim to reach that as young and early as possible. They have a side project that they want to go work on, do nonprofit work or a passion project. So they still have the core value of wanting to do something that they're passionate about. They just want to get there as soon as possible. So that brings me to the cyclic or mini retirement folks. If you've ever read The 4-Hour Workweek, you'll know what I'm talking about here. They really understand that humans are like every other animal in that our energy is cyclic. We have ups and downs. And so during those ups, they really focus on their career or whatever it is they're doing. They try to maximize their income. They go in and they just kill, they crush it. At the same time, they're keeping their expenses low just like everybody else and really maximizing their savings. The goal is to really just go at it, but they can't keep it up for very long, right? They burn out at that tempo. So whenever they're finally burnt out, they take a mini retirement. This could be an actual retirement. It could be traveling. Sometimes though, it's working on a side project or starting their own business. They can last from, a couple weeks to even a few years. So this brings me to the financial freedom folks. They're usually a bit more casual about how they go about things, and they don't hate their jobs. They're happy with their lot in life. They just like the freedom of choice that being financially independent brings. And I want to bring something into perspective here. So yes, 50 may not sound as impressive as 30, but in the traditional workforce, that is still a big deal. Take a minute and imagine, your parent or grandparent or guardian, whoever, if they didn't get to retire at 50, if they were still working in their 60s or didn't get to retire until they were 60, imagine them getting to retire in their 50s. It's still more about the freedom of choice. If they become unhappy with their job or get burnt out or get laid off, they're okay. They can go work on a passion project, they can go start a business, do nonprofit work, whatever. And so even though it doesn't seem as extreme as the others, the core values are all still there. It's really about cutting your expenses, maximizing your savings, and making smart investment decisions with that savings, right? That's really what it's all about. And then using the freedom that it gives you to be even more productive, to give back in whole new ways, to be as good as you can be. The difference is that you're never tied down. You have the freedom of choice. So what about getting rich young? What about, is financial freedom young a real goal? So let's draw a line between rich and financial freedom. See, the misconception is that being financially free is being rich, and being rich, having more money, solves all your problems. That's just not how this works. Financial freedom is about having the freedom of choice. being rich is a relative term. You'll find that rich is actually more of a lifestyle than a number in a bank account. Some people could get $1 million in the bank tomorrow and still not feel rich. So what about young? What is young? That can be very relative too, but I do want to put a definition on it to make this easy to talk about. So the average life expectancy in the United States is 78 years old. That would make late 30s around where would be middle age. So let's say if you're in your 20s, you want to reach it by that time. Not only is that possible, it happens all the time. After all, this is all just a numbers game. So what if FI is just not your thing? You do want to be rich, right? You want a yacht. You want to take pictures with a Lamborghini. You want to make it rain. Okay, you have two options here. You have fame and you have entrepreneurship. You have the most control of entrepreneurship, so that's probably your best option. And guess what community has a huge focus on entrepreneurship? You guessed it, the FI community. So it actually behooves you to learn about FI, and who knows, maybe we'll convert you to our way of thinking. So at some point, someone's going to ask me, what does financial independence mean to me? I'm in the financial freedom group, guys. I like my job. I enjoy it a lot. I'm a leader, and I feel like I can really make a difference in what I do every day. I enjoy it immensely, and I'm good at it. But I would be able to retire if I wanted to in my early 40s, and I'd like to have that freedom of choice. Now, the joke in my household, just so to have some full, transparency here, the joke is that I'm never going to retire. Neither one of us will, and we're going to work till we're 60 anyways. But the point is that we want that choice. We want the choice to, work on another project, go travel if we should want to, or spend time with grandkids. Personally, I'd like the option to run for some local office or something, become a leader on an even grander scale. The point is, I want the choice to do exactly that. And that is what all this is about, the freedom of choice. It's about using everything as economic now as possible so that you have the freedom of choice later to be the most productive and the most happy that you can be for the grand majority of your life. With that, I really hope this video provided some clarity for you. I hope it let you sort of see through the murkiness and decide on a path that you might want to take for yourself. If it did, remember to subscribe down below, share this journey with me. Hit the bell icon so that you know when I upload next, and leave a comment with what number of subscribers you are, because I want to know, and where are you on your FI path. It's important to me, and I will reply. It's me in every comment. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next time.